Welcome to the Relocated South African, the show for navigating immigration from South Africa for a better future. I'm your host, Jan Hugo from Lagos in Portugal. Check out our website, www.therelocatedSouthAfrican.com. It contains a whole lot of useful information and details of all episodes to date. If you want to interact with us or comment on our discussions or participate in an interview, contact me on jan@therelocatedSouthAfrican.com. Also, if you like our content, why not subscribe on your favorite platform? Today, I welcome all the way from Brisbane in Australia, Marlene Prentice. Welcome, Marlene.
Thank you. Nice to meet you, Jan.
And you. So Marlene is the owner of Migration Network Australia, but more about that a little later. So by way of introduction, Marlene, please tell us about your journey. Where did you grow up, go to school, university, family, and how did you get to live in Australia?
No problem. I was actually born in South Africa in a very little town called Sterkstrom, somewhere in the Eastern Cape. Then moved to Port Elizabeth, did my primary schooling there, relocated to Johannesburg, did high school and university there. I studied as an accountant and went into that field for a good few years. Met my husband, got married, 2 beautiful children, and at the age of about 38 for myself and 39 for my husband, we decided it's time to immigrate. We set our sights pretty clearly on Australia simply because we felt the language was the same, the seasons are the same, we love rugby, and we just enjoyed the culture. So we applied. We were very lucky to qualify, and we got in on my qualifications as an accountant. My husband is also an accountant, and we landed on the Gold Coast in 2004. Now, the plan was never to actually stay on the Gold Coast. We were supposed to go to Brisbane, but once I landed here, I absolutely fell in love with this place, and I decided I'm not moving ever again. This is where I want to stay for the rest of my life. So we settled here on the Gold Coast, beautiful beaches, beautiful weather, very similar to Durban and the East Coast in South Africa. And from 2004, we started carving our little nest here on the Gold Coast in Australia. Our children finished schooling. They started work, and they're very happy here and absolutely love it. My husband and I both got into the accounting field, and it was probably about 2 years in that I decided, look, I've gone through this whole big journey of immigrating myself. It was expensive. It was traumatic. It was emotional. It was tough. Those years, there wasn't as many South Africans in Australia to actually guide us and help us. Facebook forums were non-existing. So I decided, why not study and qualify myself so that I could actually help my own family to come over to Australia. I set about doing that. 2 years later, I was qualified, and then I started doing visas for my family. It probably took about a year, and all of a sudden, I got all these inquiries from other people. My business started growing from a tiny little boutique agency where I only had 3 or 4 clients a month maybe, and it just blossomed. I must say the event of Facebook and the Facebook forums have really exploded and assisted our business in a massive way. So immigration on the Facebook and WhatsApp groups and pages have really assisted my business. But then again, I would say about 80% of my business come from referrals from other clients or previous clients that I've had or that I do have. The business has grown to a point where I had to stop my own full-time job. I started my little business in the garage to start off with, and then a few years later built offices, and now we've got a lovely little boutique office set up here in Burleigh on the Gold Coast, and we've got dedicated staff that look after people, and we basically deal mainly with people coming from from South Africa to Australia. But we also deal with anybody else everywhere in the world who would like to come to Australia.
Okay. So, Marlene, I said you come from Brisbane, but you're talking about the Gold Coast. Maybe for us ignoramus, you can explain exactly where the Gold Coast is relative to Brisbane.
Absolutely. The Gold Coast is about 100 kilometers south from Brisbane on the coast. And although a lot of people actually think that we refer to a region when we call it the Gold Coast, it actually is a city in its own right. It's got about 700,000 people living here, and it's been growing quite steadily over the last 10 years. And I would probably compare it to a city like Umhlanga, but pretty much a lot bigger than Umhlanga, and a thriving little, well, a big town, actually, I should say. It isn't little anymore, but we've got a very cosmopolitan sort of mix of people on the Gold Coast, and it's very much, there's a lot of fitness freaks here. We've got probably the most gyms in the country per capita here on the Gold Coast, because there's a lot of beautiful people who live here and they love being on the beach and looking fantastic.
Oh, awesome. And I suppose because of the weather and the similarity to KwaZulu-Natal, probably a lot of South Africans.
A lot of South Africans. When I deal with people, I always ask them, where's your preference to come and relocate? And I would say 10 years ago, it was always Perth. Whereas in the last 10 years, the majority of people want to come to either Brisbane or the Gold Coast.
Oh, wow, that's amazing. It's interesting. My brother's daughter lives down there, and she's a teacher. They moved in the last 2 years, and I think most of the teachers at their school are Afrikaans.
Yep, that's it. That is so true. We've actually got some schools here on the Gold Coast, specifically one or two that I can mention. One is King's Christian College, and the other one's called Emmanuel's. And I would say 40 to 50% of the teachers are ex-South African.
Yeah, no, it's exactly what they found. They love it there, so it's awesome. So, and when you guys moved years ago, 2004, was it tough to move as a family?
I think when you're young, probably it's easier to adapt to change, but it was difficult because of the kids' ages. I think for me it was difficult because of the two girls being 14 and 11. I really wish I did it when they were about 3, 4, 5 years old. Our oldest daughter was already in her first year of high school and the second year of high school. And that was really tough for her. And when she landed here, she basically had to say goodbye to all her friends and everybody and everything that she's known all her life. The younger one also felt it emotionally, but I think she didn't always show it as much, and she really integrated quite quickly. The children find it very tough, and I do believe that those years, and possibly now even, I don't know if there's enough emotional support from an external point of view for children who actually immigrate at that sort of age group. I think we just think, oh, they're young, they'll get over it, they'll integrate, they'll make friends. But more often than not now, I hear of youngsters, teenagers that's really struggled through those first few years. They do settle down, and as they grow older, obviously they settle into their occupations and they make friends. But it is really tough on them. And I think they try to put up a brave face, because us as parents, we will always say, we're doing it for your benefit. We're doing it so you can have a future. So there's this guilt if they feel that they don't want to complain about anything. But I think deep down they really struggle as much as what we probably are as well. From a work point of view, Glenn and myself got jobs really easily and walked into it because of the type of work that we've done. But although I didn't personally get any racism or negativeness directed to me on a regular basis, I did get the odd one or two people would say to me, our country is full, we don't need you. So, yeah. But those ones, you just laugh it off, because those are the ignorant ones who don't realize that the country needs skills, etc., and that there's benefits to immigrants. But overall, I can honestly say that we integrated pretty quickly. And our mindset was to just take it as a learning experience, just absolutely embrace everything that's new, everything that's different, and just laugh at yourself when you make a mistake or you do a silly thing. Because if you don't have that positive attitude, I mean, there were times when you cry as well, but you have to overall have that positive attitude to just get you through those first 2 years. Because I think the first 2 years are actually the ones that are the toughest.
I think that's very true. And, in a lot of conversations, it's very important to be on the same page, I think, as a family, because you only have each other to support, and it's hard in those, and sometimes one is up and one is down, so you've got to have that support. And also one of the thoughts that Sulet said this week about the psychology part of it is don't think that immigration will fix a broken relationship, that's
Nope.
not going to work. You've got to be on the same page and agree. And did you guys leave a lot of family behind in SA?
Yes, we left all our family behind. The only family, my husband had a brother that was already here in Brisbane, but we haven't seen them for 20 years because they immigrated to the US 20 years earlier. So for us, it was really just coming here and not knowing anybody or anything.
And have you been back to South Africa?
Oh, yeah. From about 2006, I've been back about twice a year, and I literally came back from South Africa a week ago. I was very lucky to be able to attend one of my cousins' milestone birthdays there, and it was absolutely amazing because that was actually the first time since I was 14 years old that I went back to Port Elizabeth, and it was just wonderful to catch up with family again. Family is so important, and I think we forget about how important it is to have those cousins and uncles and aunts and all around us, because once you're away from it, you don't actually know what you miss, but you miss it once you go back.
And your impression of the of Port Elizabeth and South Africa?
I can't say that word. I'm very sorry, but I can't say it. I'll make a fool of myself. So I'm going to stick to PE. The streets were dirty, but there were some efforts of cleaning it up, which I thought was good. But what worried me, and I'm sure everybody in Port Elizabeth is as concerned or even more concerned than what I am, is that the big industries that have closed down and the unemployment that is created. I do believe that the Eastern Cape is a bit of a stepchild sort of thing. And I don't know enough about the politics to know why and what's going on there, or if they've got funding or that. But I got the feeling that people were struggling. There was a lot of people eating out. There was a lot of people doing social things. But me going back from first time in 50 years, so that's huge. So I remember the Port Elizabeth from years and years ago. I went to the aquarium, and when I was there last, there were dolphin shows and dolphins and all sorts of things. I believe that they've stopped the funding for that, or maybe the support is not there for it. There's nothing there. The whole aquarium, there's not even a drop of water in those big swimming pools. That to me was sad, and I also was very sad to see the main street. The main street has become it's a selling place for Chinese goods. That's the impression I got about the main street. The beautiful old library and the buildings are they as beautiful as what they ever was, but the library has been locked up. It hasn't been used for years. So that to me is sad.
No, look, that's we can talk about that for hours, but it's just interesting when people go back. We haven't been back in 5 years, and I'm sure it's already changed a lot, and we lived in Stellenbosch, but I think that's unfortunately part of the reason why people want to immigrate, because that's, that's the other question is with your clients and so on. What is the biggest reason that you find why people want to leave South Africa?
At the moment, the biggest reason that's being cited is for safety and security and education for their children. And I find more and more the male component, the husbands or fathers, are saying that they cannot find jobs in South Africa. If they don't have their own businesses, they struggle to find something worthwhile and to earn a reasonable amount of money to sustain their family. And that has been cited as the three biggest reasons, I would say, for people to now immigrating. 10 odd years ago, my clientele was between 38 and 45. At the moment, it's between 25 and 35. So the younger group of South Africans straight out of university, maybe, or having just finished a trade and having done 2, 3, 4 years of work experience, they are now the majority of my clients.
Wow, that's really interesting. And in terms of in your business of helping people with the process, do you also assist them with finding employment in Australia?
I actually don't, but I have a joint venture with a company called Anzuk, and they specialize in finding employment for all my teachers. They are absolutely fantastic, and everybody that I refer to them, they will find them employment, because we have got a massive shortage of teachers in the country.
Okay, so that's a big one. But people like accountants and engineers and so on, there's still work opportunities in Australia.
Oh, there's so much work here. If you want to work, you're going to find a job here. You're not going to struggle. And what I find a lot of people do, they come over on one skill, and then all of a sudden they realize there's so many other occupations available in this country that isn't available in South Africa. And they go into those different lines of occupations. And the one thing that will always fascinate me about Australia, which I absolutely love, there's no typical class difference between what kind of job you do. You can be picking up the garbage and you can be living next to the doctor. You've got a house, he's got a house. You've got a car, he's got a car. He's got a job, he's looking after his family, and so are you. So everybody is on the same footing as long as they just behave themselves and be decent people.
That's awesome. And, I guess 2 questions with your clients coming in. What do they find the most difficult thing to cope with initially?
I think initially people talk about not being able to quite get a foot in the door with the typical Australian. And that to me is probably the way I've looked at it is, and like we call an Aussie. An Aussie will not easily invite you to his or her house. They would rather say, let's go to a restaurant, or let's go to the park and have a picnic, or let's go to the beach, things like that. There's a lot of reasons for that because they don't have housekeepers. Their houses are probably not as tidy as what we used to if we do have a housekeeper. They've got kids and they've got busy lives, and it's very, very busy when you've got kids and you don't have anybody to help you in the house. So they would rather be outside of the house and enjoy themselves because all the parks and all the things are free, it's safe, and there's so much to do. So it's very, very seldom that an Aussie will invite you to their house. So, and also as well, if they invite you to their house, the wife has to cook. She wants a day off, so she'd rather go to the park or she'd go to the restaurant. That is something I found which is very different socially compared to South Africa. In South Africa, we used to go to people's houses all the time, and it's reciprocal, and you were visiting, and you knock on a door and go inside for a coffee. Doesn't often happen, yeah.
That's interesting. And I guess the other side is, what do they find most appealing? I would say, from talking from personal experience, the one thing that we initially it was so nice to have to cope with that is the safety aspect of seeing, we cyclists, we see women riding on their own, you see women running on their own, just with no fear. And I guess that's also a big thing in Australia, that people, they just think it's amazing.
Yeah. The safety aspect is just absolutely amazing. I'm a keen runner, and the number of times that I would go out at 9 or 10 o'clock at night and go for my run on my own, just with headlight on so I don't trip, it's numerous. And it's just such a great feeling of freedom, of not having to look over your shoulder or worrying about anything. There is crime, yeah, please don't get me wrong. There's crime everywhere in the world, but it's not that violent crime, and it's mostly petty crime. And yes, there is drugs here, but honestly, if you keep away from it, it will keep away from you. The freedom, the beaches, the parks, the public facilities. You can go into a park and push a button, and there's gas and water comes out of this beautiful stainless steel barbecue, or braai, as they call it. It's for free. It's there for everybody to enjoy, and it's clean. It's beautiful.
No, I guess that's a big thing. A lot of people that I speak to in Australia on the podcast talk about the freedom of having kids play in the front garden with no fences and riding their bikes to school. So that is something which shows how bad the security issue is in the back of the minds of South Africans. So yeah, fully understand. Let's just talk a little bit about, you talked about South African groups and so on, the Facebook groups. Obviously, a lot of people gravitate towards those groups in order to feel welcome and so on. But one thing that I've also found, and I've always said that when you immigrate, you can't look over your shoulder and say, well, if it doesn't work, I'm going back. I don't know what you find with your clients, because for me, that is such a critical thing, because it puts you back a long time if you head back, because people cash in their pensions, they spend the money to go abroad, and they start fresh, and now they go back to South Africa, and it's a nightmare. So is that something you come across when you talk to people?
when people are right at the initial stages, I do these Zoom meetings with all my new clients. Every now and again, the question comes up about should we leave property or our pensions or whatever, or a little bit of a nest egg in South Africa. And my opinion is, I always give my personal opinion because I can't give them financial advice. But in my personal opinion is close the door. Make sure you don't have the back door open, because then the smallest little thing that goes wrong in the new country, you're going to say, oh, I can go back. Then your mind is divided. Your heart is not in it. You need to know I'm going to make this work come hell or high water.
That's very good advice. I think that's awesome. So we talk, when you talk about the business, you say you pride yourself on ethical, unambiguous advice. Does that imply there's people that don't give that in Australia?
Yes and no, not necessarily always in Australia. There's a lot of immigration agents out there, and that's both in South Africa and Australia. And unfortunately, something that I have come across lately is that there are agents who will take on clients who, by law, yes, you tick all the boxes, you meet the requirements to get a visa, but the chances of you getting an invitation to get a visa is probably 1 or 2% or under 10%. They won't tell the client that. They will rather say to the client, I'm going to take your money, I'm going to do everything that we need to do, and then you're going to be sitting in the EOI system for 2 years, and after 2 years, I'm going to say to you, that was sad. Sorry, I couldn't get you a visa. I'm not that type of person. I have quite a few people in specific occupations that have come to me and say, but it's on the list. Surely you can do my visa for me. I could probably, but you're not going to get an invitation. Your chances are better to come to an employer, try and get a temporary work visa and take that pathway. And I will give them that option and that pathway. I don't like taking people's money knowing that they're probably not going to get a visa or an invitation, even if they meet the criteria. I like to be honest. I'd rather walk away from that business than to actually give them false hope. It's not fair to give someone false hope when they are making this massive decision to uproot their whole family, and then for the next 2-3 years, they just live in limbo.
Yeah. No, that's very interesting because, in Portugal, there's a massive group here of South Africans helping South Africans in Portugal, and the guy who runs it, he's quite a difficult dude, but he's dead against agencies. So he's got a group, oh my word, with files on everything. He says, no, you can do it yourself. You don't need an agent. And I think that's wrong advice, but obviously that's his preference. And the question is, if somebody says, okay, well, Steve said don't use an agent, what would the opposite be? Why should you use an agent?
I pick up quite a few jobs where people have done self-managed visa applications. They've paid their $10,000 visa fees to actually get the visa, only to be told they've overclaimed points here or they've overclaimed points there, or these documents are not correct. This is going to go back. Now they either stay delays in the eye, or they could get a total refusal and lose $10,000. That's on average what it will cost a family of 4 to immigrate to Australia. Now, if you can afford $10,000 instead of just paying an immigration fee and not having to worry about that risk, that is a personal choice. And I'm going to be honest with you, there are probably some occupations and some people. I've done one degree. I've only worked in one job for 10 years. I've got no children. I've got no husband, no wife, and I'm healthy and I've got no character issues. They could probably do it themselves, but there's always that risk that they could tick the wrong box or add the wrong document and then they get a refusal. It is a personal risk. If someone said to me, you can buy your own house, why would you go through an agent? Yeah, I think everybody can buy their own house. It's not that difficult to get the papers off the internet and you fill everything in and you give it to the seller and off you go. But no, it's too big a risk and too big an investment for me to have to want to go and do that myself.
Well, very good advice. And at what point, if people are thinking, interestingly, a large part of our listeners still in South Africa, when should you start talking to an agency?
Once you made the decision in your mind, we do free assessments. If you're not certain about things, if you're not sure about costs, speak to an agent. Speak to an agent who can give you a free assessment. Don't go and pay for that advice, because you may not qualify. And then at least you know the facts. So speak to an agent at that point of view, get a free assessment, and then make the decisions going forward from there. Because that assessment will give you your options, and it will give you the total, it should give you the total cost of the whole process. There shouldn't be any hidden fees. And at least then you can make a calculated decision. You can sit down with your family, you can speak to the family that will be left behind, and you can all sit and make that decision together.
Okay. And I have to ask, as an accountant, is your fee a success-based fee, or is there a work fee with a success-based fee at the end? How does it work typically?
Probably the only agent I'm aware of right now who gives 50% guarantee back if I can't give you a visa.
Oh, wow. That is amazing. I mean, that is putting your money where your mouth is. I think that's awesome. So if people have paid and they don't get a visa, you give them 50% back.
50% of my fee that they paid me, I'll give it back, because
wow.
I don't want them not to get a visa. I want them to get a visa.
That is absolutely amazing. And just in your business, I mean, there must be some good feel-good stories. Have you got any anecdotal stories that you can tell?
Oh, there's many stories in this business. I've got some interesting ones. Let me think. I had a family this week on Monday. They are settled in Perth, WA, and this lady, she's relatively young, 35, 36, husband pretty same age, and they've got 3 teenage children, sort of around about 10 years old, 12 years old. There was absolutely no chance for her of coming to Australia straightforward. That she didn't have the qualification, she didn't have the work experience, nothing. But she was determined to come over and make a success here and bring her family over. So about 7 years ago, she contacted me for the first time, and we started with a student visa for her. She brought herself, her husband, and the 3 kids over. They could only work 20 hours a week because she was actively studying. For 3 years, she did all her studies. After that, we did an expression of interest for her. She did a year's work, and we did an expression of interest for her. She got a visa invitation from WA. We lodged the visa, and on Monday, it got approved. A 7-year journey of never giving up.
Wow, that is amazing. No, that is absolutely amazing.
I take my hat off to people like that. Honestly, I love working with people who will say, okay, I can't do it, but I'm going to make it happen.
Yeah. Oh, well, that's fantastic. That's great to hear. And in terms of, immigration worldwide, and more illegal immigration is a big topic right now. How do you see immigration in Australia changing in the future?
There's definitely political sort of clouds hanging over it at the moment. And I do believe that a lot has to do with the illegal immigrants in the rest of the world. And it is affecting our immigration numbers, because although our numbers and quotas are exactly the same as last year, we have not seen as many visa grants or visa invitations in this first few months of the year. However, we have now seen, since about a week ago, they've started opening up. So I do believe that the government has to appease the 2 parties. The one party that's in control has to show the other party that they are watching the numbers and they're not bringing or condoning illegal immigration. And they are also making sure that certain countries are not overpopulated here or overrepresented. And I think by doing that, they are actually going to come off quite lightly with this big backlash of immigration worldwide. The Australian government is pretty aware of what's going on all over the world, and I don't think they want the same situation to happen yet. There has been some demonstrations, but those were mainly demonstrations against any cultural group that will not integrate and does burn our flag. We're very proud of the Australian flag, and we don't tolerate it if someone comes in here and burns our flag and show disrespect. So there has been some demonstrations and uproar about that. And I think that's been handled, because I believe that those people need to understand, you come to a country to integrate. You don't come here to abuse the system. And that is a message to anybody and everybody. You are here initially as a guest in this country, and you need to comply with the rules, and you need to follow the law.
Absolutely. Thinking back to your own journey in 2004, you said you would have probably come earlier with your kids. Is there anything else that you know now that you wish you knew then?
Definitely would have come earlier. What would I think, well, I was so ignorant when I was in South Africa, and I really didn't know anything about Australia. Um, before I came here, I thought Tasmania was a different country. I didn't realize it was a state. So when I landed here and someone said they came from Tasmania, I thought, that's a bit weird. What are you doing here? So ignorance was bliss, but I probably should have done a bit more homework. But I feel I had luck on my side. So I landed exactly where I wanted to be and where I'm happy. But research is very important. Do your research, because the one thing that probably most people don't realize is this country is very big, and you could feel like you're living in 5 different countries by just moving around from state to state. It's very, very different in their laws. Every state has got their own laws with regards to education, policing, and health and all these things. So that's different to South Africa. We're not used to that. We think there's one rule for the whole country. It isn't. So make yourself aware of those. Something that I find very interesting at these braais that we have, or barbecues with South Africans, so many of the South Africans lose their license in the first few months because we don't think it's that important to stop at stop streets or to abide by the law, rules and to keep to the speed limit. So that does happen. Make sure you don't lose your license in the first 6 months.
Good. And I mean, the one thing that comes up in a lot of discussions, and I am also a victim, is shipping furniture. My word.
Oh, yes. Very good point. We came over with 2 20-foot containers. We should have come over with 5 suitcases.
Absolutely. We donated the contents of a 40-foot container in France. So same thing, because the furniture doesn't fit. And and people, and you think, it's a big problem. But that's one advice that I would say to people: think very carefully. Bring stuff that's really dear to you and that you don't want to be without. But don't bring those big couches and things, because they just get
Absolutely agree with you. I cannot agree more.
Because there's no market for second-hand furniture. That's what we found.
No, you literally go and dump brand new stuff here.
Yeah, fortunately we have a lot of charity shops, so we take stuff there because at least they do something with it and it's for good purpose. But in Portugal, the other thing is you buy a house with furniture. So
wow,
you very seldom see a house being sold empty. Only new houses, from a developer.
Yeah.
But even then, they will put furniture in for you. So it's
that's interesting.
Yeah. And I mean, we're kind of getting to the end of the interview. What advice would you give to anyone now in South Africa thinking about moving to Australia?
I would say get an assessment, because thinking about it and not knowing whether you meet the requirements, you could be thinking about it and then you're stuck. Get an assessment. Discuss it with your family. Do your research. Make sure your heart is in the right place, your mind is in the right place, and that everybody's on the same page. There's opportunities for older family members once you're here to bring your parents over. Yes, it's expensive. Yes, it's going to take a bit longer, but there are options for them further down the line to bring Oma and Opa over, because that's hard. To bring your young children over and leaving the grandparents there is really, really tough. But do consider and ask up front, what are the options for my parents once I'm there? Because that is something that you can then discuss with your parents so that they can know, yes, in the future, there is possibilities for me to go over. But do research, get an honest quote, and make sure you're all on the same page with your heart and your mind in it.
Excellent. And I guess patience?
You have to have a bit of patience because it's taking a bit longer than usual.
Yeah. No, I guess, everywhere in the world we deal with red tape, and sometimes you just have to be patient. No, that's fantastic. Thank you so much, Marlene. I think you have a fantastic story and a great business. If people want to contact you, what's the best way to contact you?
The easiest is to email me, Marlene at mignetau.com. They can also go on my website, all one word, migrationnetworkaustralia.com. And on there, the email address is also there. And They can go on the social forums if they are on Aussiekaners, South Africans migrating to Australia, or hopping down under. I have a very active presence on those 3 forums.
Excellent. We'll put it on the show notes as well. So if you want to contact Marlene. Thank you so much for joining us, Marlene. I really appreciate it. It's lovely to talk to you.
It was a lovely pleasure. Thank you, Jan.
Thank you. If you enjoyed my discussion with Marlene and would like to hear more about experiences of South Africans who have left South Africa, why not subscribe on your favorite platform? If you would like to share your own story, please contact me on jan@therelocatedSouthAfrican.com. Until next time.